Pixelborn is shutting down June 16th, so I wanted to take a moment to talk about it completely unedited, as this is a pretty major change for the Lorcana community. But before I get into the details, no, Lorcana is not dead. This game and this community is amazing and will continue to be amazing, especially with how bright the future of Lorcana is, considering we've just had the Disney Lorcana Challenge, which has been an awesome first step for competitive Lorcana. With that being said, I want to give some of my thoughts on this decision, the pros and cons, the reasons why this decision might have been made. No, this isn't a drama video. Please be respectful when you talk about this decision online. Everyone who works on this game is incredibly passionate about it and loves it just as much as you or I do. I've talked to Ravensburger employees before. They're amazing people, so please, 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 please be kind and respectful and know that everything you say online, there is always a person on the other side of the screen reading it who cares and has feelings too. But I'm sure all of you are great, so we hopefully won't have to worry about that. Firstly, for the pros that I think led to this decision. Now, I do have a script here for these points, so if I'm looking down, that's why. Number one, it is possible that the existence of Pixelborn and its easy accessibility lowered attendance to local game stores and purchasing of product, because you could get much better testing with a wider range of players and deck types through online Pixelborn matching. Now, this may not be the case, as people who are testing on Pixelborn might not have gone to their locals in the first place, so it's hard to quantify this number, but I'm sure that's a concern that they would have gone through when making this decision. And it's certainly something we can't just brush over. Secondly, because Pixelborn had zero oversight from any Ravensburger or Disney employee, from a business perspective, they could not ensure the brand or the gameplay was within their regulations and vision for Disney Lorcana. This is a pretty floaty concept to think about, but in a sense, if you made something, it's your creation, and it's sort of in someone's hands and being misrepresented by someone else, as much faith you could have in that person, you can't control what they do. So if there's a bug in Pixelborn, it may sound irrational, but players dealing with a bug on Pixelborn, it does affect how they interact with Lorcana as a game. So it might not necessarily match the standards of how Ravensburger or Disney would want a Disney Lorcana product to look like. Even if it's not a product, at the end of the day, we all kind of knew it was Disney Lorcana, right? Like it's pretty obvious. Number three, the online tournament circuit was unregulated and handing out real cash prizes, which could directly compete with Disney Lorcana's vision for competitive organized play. As we've seen with the Disney Lorcana challenges, there are no cash prizes, no money, they are only handing out promo cards. And it did create an environment where it necessitated that you played in these online tournaments and online ladder, like hardcore mode, so that you could have enough experience to compete at the official Disney Lorcana challenges. This is a real advantage that we can't look away from. If you didn't want to participate in Pixelborn, you were at a disadvantage. You didn't get to test against the best players in the world. You didn't get to test against a large variety of decks. So any player that wasn't using Pixelborn was getting much worse testing through just playing at locals or with friends. Now, I personally really enjoy having online tournaments to practice for the in-person ones, but I understand the negative impacts that there could be, and hopefully it means that we do get an online client down the line so that we can fill this gap or this need where players do need some kind of online play, or at least ways to test before a major tournament, because for competitive players, just playing locals isn't really enough for that kind of practice. Number four, if, and this is a big if, an official online client is in the works, having a free version outside of their jurisdiction is absolutely bad for the potential future success of an official client, as it sets expectations for a product that hasn't even been announced yet. One of those big expectations is having all the cards free and available to you. This is completely unheard of in any official card game client. Most games have some sort of collection system where you're buying packs. Hearthstone has it, Magic the Gathering Online has it, Marvel Snap has it. So there's usually some degree of play to earn, but a lot of the business model supporting the development of these clients does come down to cosmetics and accessing cards through pack purchases. So having players get used to a completely free client with matchmaking, tournament, hardcore ladder, and everything does set an expectation that is maybe unrealistic for a company to match when they want to release their own official client. Now for the cons of this decision that I think could negatively impact Disney Lorcana's future and the community. Now, I do want to say I'm not hating on the game. I love this game. I really love this game. Otherwise, I wouldn't be a content creator for it. And I just want to say that with any kind of negative feedback, any critique, I want to reiterate that please, please, please be kind and respectful. There's always a human being reading it on the other side of a screen. Don't hide behind online anonymity. Now, before we've got that out of the way, firstly, Disney Lorcana did just get a whole lot less accessible to a wide range of passionate players. I believe there are three categories of players which could be hurt by this decision. First, players outside of North America and Europe do not have access to Disney Lorcana product. When I was back home in New Zealand in December, I was going to my local game stores looking for products, seeing if anyone was playing the game, because Flesh and Blood is really big over there, Magic's really big over there. And as much as people had heard of the game and they wanted to play it, they had no way to access it. So the only way they could play it and get prepared for when the game is eventually released to them was to play on Pixelborn. So now those kinds of players, they can't play at all. And it could also apply to players where they just don't have a local game store near them, or a local game store that isn't selling Disney Lorcana product. And I know those people are going to be really passionate about playing the game too. Not everyone has access to a car or good public transport to get to these local game centers. Some areas are more rural than others, so this does reduce the accessibility of Disney Lorcana. Secondly, and now this is a controversial opinion, but players with limited funds that can't afford expensive cards like staple legendaries will no longer be able to test out cards before they commit to buying them. If you don't think Disney Lorcana cards are expensive, you're simply in a financially fortunate enough position to where this isn't a problem for you. But I can speak for myself on this, that I had to borrow a playset of Robin Hoods for the Disney Lorcana Challenge in Lille from a friend because I couldn't afford them on top of costs for traveling and attending the event. And if I did not have these cards, I absolutely would not have made top 128 in Lille. And if I did not have access to borrowing these cards, I would have had to pick a different deck, not because it was a better meta choice or because it was a deck I wanted to play, but because it's the deck that I could afford to play because I already had the cards for it. This creates a distinct and clear advantage to players who have access to lots of cards, or players like me who have access to friends with the cards they can play with. And that kind of that kind of imbalance is mitigated when you have access to an online client and can pre-test cards before purchasing them. Now, you could make some argument that this is a luxury game, and it is, you're right, but I'm of a competitive mindset. I'm a competitive player. I make competitive content. I love tournaments, and I want the tournament scene to thrive. And a game is only truly competitive when it is accessible. And if there are financial barriers to being able to be competitive in a game, I think that hurts its competitiveness because you can't truly say you're the best player in the world if not every player in the world is able to compete. It's why a sport like football is probably one of the most competitive games in the world because it's very little buy-in. You just need to be able to kick a ball around a field, set up 2 bags as a goal, and kick it through, right? The harder it is for players to acquire and access cards, unfortunately, the less competitive Lorcana is as a result. And it could make it where it's so only an in-group of select players is able to test properly and have access to playing these cards. Luckily, Lorcana I will say, is on the cheaper side. It's no Yu-Gi-Oh! Where decks are going for multiple thousands of dollars. But it's also no Pokemon where no deck is more than like $60, $100, right? Like we do get quite a lot of decks, especially as we're going into set 4 with Emerald and Red Blue being so popular with lots of expensive staple legendaries, where these decks are going into the hundreds of dollars in cost. And for a lot of people, that means they have to buy one deck and just stick to it. Stick to that ink combo through multiple sets because they can't afford to buy other cards. I think that's really unfortunate because it limits the fun of the game for those players. Now, I think one way for Ravensburger to fix this is they could release more alternate art cards for collectors to chase after. Like in Pokemon, when collectors chase after these rare cards, they end up buying more raw product, which means more of the mechanically unique staple cards enter supply, driving the cost down and making all the cards more accessible to players. And then this doesn't hurt the ability of players to buy product because they're still buying it for the chase cards, right? You know, your enchanteds and whatever other rarity there might be down the line. Thirdly, there is the category of players who only want to play online. Now, I know these players likely aren't investing much in physical products, so there's not a big reason for Ravensburger to consider them when making these decisions, and probably won't spend even even a dime, a lucky dime, I put in my script, but I don't think the humors matches the tone here, to an official client releases. But there are very good reasons why a player may choose to do so. And I think some of those reasons, as I mentioned earlier, are not living near a local game store and being unable to access it through public transport or owning and driving a car, having social anxiety to where being in a place physically with lots of people is a bit overwhelming, or having physical health issues such as being immunocompromised to where it is unsafe to be around lots of people, especially at some of these big venues and big tournaments. Now, you may say the game was never intended for these kinds of people in the first place, because at its core, and you're right, at its core, Disney Lorcana is about going to your locals, playing with friends, having a social time, having a good time. But the harsh reality is that these players are already playing the game, and they will now no longer be able to play the game if they've lost access. And I think that's quite sad. And so because of that, I hope that there is an official online client in the works soon coming to replace Pixelborn. In conclusion, it's okay that Disney made this decision. I'm sure they have their reasons, and Disney Lorcana will live on because it's such an incredible game with an even better community. And what I saw at the Disney Lorcana Challenge in Lille really proved this weekend just how great this community is and how great this game is and how bright the competitive future is for Disney Lorcana. However, I think we can still be sad to know that there is a significant portion of the community that will no longer be able to interact with the game that we all know and love as they could before, or even just at all because of regional, financial, and other issues. Again, I want to reiterate, please do not send any hate towards Disney, Ravensburger, or any of the employees for this decision. Every single person that I've met really loves this game. They really do. Everyone that I've met has been really cool, and I'm just glad that I've been able to become a part of this community and create content on this game. And at the end of the day, you're entitled to your decisions, but just be kind, be respectful. Yeah, and just, be a good human being on social media. This doesn't need to devolve into angry comments, and I'm sure that Ravensburger is listening to any feedback that you give constructively. I've got to the end of all my talking points, half on script, half off script. I'm not very good at just talking off a cuff into a camera. So apologies for scripting any of this, but it's just how I'm able to process and give out my thoughts. I think the game's in a really good position. The future is bright, but it is sad that we will no longer have an online client. But I am looking forward to all the future set championships, Disney Lorcana challenges, and just playing at my local game store. For me, this decision won't affect me a lot. I'll still be able to play the game. I won't be able to show you guys gameplay videos anymore because I don't have any camera equipment or lighting equipment to be able to record physical games. I hope soon I'll be able to afford that and invest in that. But until then, please bear with me. I suppose a lot more of these videos are going to be more presentation based and just talking based. I just wanted to end this video by saying thank you so much, Pavel, for everything you've done for the community. I really don't, especially with how hard it was to find product in set 1, I really don't think that this game would be here or as popular as it is without you and everything you've done. And I hope you stick around and keep playing Lorcana despite Pixelborn shutting down. It's really been awesome to see you in London and see you at the Disney Lorcana Challenge. Yeah, thank you so much. There's lots of people who wouldn't have been able to enjoy Disney Lorcana and the amazing game that it is without your work and your help. Bye-bye.